If you guys heard any noise during my video, it's because of this little guy right here. He likes to help me record. And his brother does too, but his brother's a lot quieter. Hi, Hudson. These are my labs, Maddox and Hudson. They're sweet and I love them and they're my work buddies. What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me today. In my last video about the DJI OM5, I had some questions that I had answered in the comments that people had about the gimbal itself. But I wanted to make a video about it to kind of give a visual aid to the things that I was talking about, because sometimes that's just easier for people to get what I'm saying. So I hope you enjoy it, and thanks for joining me so far. All right, let's get into it. So one of the first things I wanted to talk about is how you actually attach the phone to the gimbal itself. You do it with this little clip here. And the way you do it is you stretch this little clip out, clip it to your phone, and then it uses a really strong magnet back here to attach it directly to the gimbal. So here it is clipped on the phone. It just hangs onto it really snugly. And what you want to do is you want to make sure it's as even as possible in the middle, because that's going to be how you balance the phone. So you try to eyeball it and get it where you think is the middle. But if you don't get it perfectly in the middle, don't worry about it. DJI has a little measurement tool inside the Mimo app to help you balance it better. If the phone is on the smaller end, like the iPhone 13 Pro that I'm shooting on, or the 10 that I'm using in my example videos, then you really don't have to be so precise about your balancing because the motors handle it just fine. But if you have a larger phone that's like the size of the iPhone 13 Pro Max or the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra, then you really do need to be much more accurate with how the phone is balanced, because it'll get lopsided a lot easier if you don't pay attention to that. Then once you have everything clipped on, you just want to take this little dot here and line it up with this dot here that's on the DJI gimbal. And all you do is you clip it on with an incredibly strong magnet. And when I say strong, I mean it's like you can shake it around. It's not going anywhere. Like, this thing is really strong. So you don't have to worry about the phone falling off or anything, because it's not a solid attachment like you get on the DJI RSC2 or something. The next little thing I wanted to talk about that makes the DJI OM5 different in a lot of ways from the OM4 is not just the software upgrades, but it has this extra selfie stick attachment that's on it. As you can see, the selfie stick gives you a pretty good extension up from the standard gimbal. So you can really increase the distance out and kind of get more of your surroundings in the scene as you're shooting. It's actually a pretty cool feature. And another really neat thing about it is it has this little tilt here, and you can run the tilt while the motor's running. It doesn't bother it, but you can tilt it up or down. See, and it'll just move wherever you need it to. But that's super necessary, because unfortunately the gimbal tilt, like if I use this little direction pad here, I'll show you the only tilt that I have on it. It goes, that's all the way up and that's all the way down. So you don't get a huge range of motion with up and down. Like if you go left and right, you can go here and then all the way over here for your right and left. But it doesn't do a full 360, like it stops there. But for horizontal movement, that's pretty good. For your vertical movement, I kind of wish it would go a little farther, but having that tilt control that's right here, the little manual tilt control, that helps out a lot with, you know, the kind of lack of the range of vertical motion on it. And it's pretty neat. So you can see there, and all you do is tilt it by hand. There's nothing super special about it. Now I want to talk a little bit about the features in the app. And some of the ones that you need to set up, so we need to go into the Mimo app. And then when you first start the gimbal up, you'll probably appear on this home page like this. And so then you just go to the device and it'll connect. Then once it connects to the device, you'll get into the record interface. And what you want to do if you haven't balanced your gimbal yet is you want to come up here, and it used to be photo settings, but now it actually says gimbal, and you click on this thing and you can do auto calibration. But first you want to come in here to the horizontal gimbal adjustment and make sure that you're lined up specifically with this measurement tool that DJI has involved. And like I said, on the smaller phones, it's not a big deal to be a little off, like it's whatever. But if you're on a larger phone, then you definitely want to make sure you get things right here. Then you just click OK, and you can tweak it manually if you want to, or you can just click done, and then you can go back up and you can run the auto calibrate. And it'll sit there and go through its little calibration. While it's running the calibration sequence, I really wanted to show how quiet the motors are. I mean, you can't hear them at all. The only time I've ever heard the motors is if it got hung up on something, like if I had it up too high and it accidentally hit my light or a tree branch or something, and then it gave a little buzz and I knew my motor was hung up. Otherwise, I don't hear them. They don't pick up on the phone's microphones, and they sure as heck don't pick up on these Rode mics that I'm using. But anyway, once the calibration's run, you're free to shoot all you want to. And if you want to shoot vertical, like it sets up like that automatically, or at least it does on mine. But you just give it a little double tap here on this little flip thing, and it will go from vertical to horizontal. And if you just do a single tap, then it'll switch cameras from front to rear, which is kind of cool. And when you're in the rear-facing camera, it actually automatically starts face tracking. So it'll look for a face immediately and try to track it, which is really neat. And if you don't like that, you can just click off your face and it won't track it anymore, and you're good to go. Then you also have, obviously, the trigger will lock the gimbal in place, like it says there in the little tutorial. And so you can put on something and then lock it to it as you tip around, and then you just unlock it. So the interface is super simple, just like most DJI products are. I mean, they do a great job on the software side, and that's where a lot of the really cool features that are upgraded from the OM4 come into play here. Like I said before, the ActiveTrack 4.0 is a lot more responsive, and it has a much better memory than the 3.0. If it does lose track of something, it has a pretty good memory of trying to re-find it again. And so it really hasn't let me down in that regard. To kind of put things in perspective and speak a little more technically here, DJI says that the motors can handle 614 grams of weight. The iPhone 12 Pro Max that I had tested before I got my iPhone 13 Pro, it weighs about 230 grams. And I didn't feel like the motors were having a hard time moving it around. But when it gets that big, like dimension-wise and probably weight-wise, you have to be much more careful with your balancing. So just kind of keep that in mind if you do have a larger phone. Like I said, on the iPhone 10 that I was using to hold in the demo videos while I was shooting with the 13, or if I put the 13 Pro on here, it really is super easy to balance. Most of the time I'll put it on and it's just balanced right away. It's not an issue for it because dimension-wise it's a lot smaller, and weight-wise it's a lot lighter. So the gimbal barely notices it's there, and you can just go about things super quick. Now, while gimbals are super nerdy and most people probably won't pick one up, if you want really buttery smooth footage, this is a very good way to get into it. I mean, the price is like $160, and you can just snap it onto your smartphone and go, and you'll up your production quality of whatever you're shooting just tremendously. I love using gimbals, and just having one that can fold down so compactly to take with me and just have with my smartphone when I want to shoot something is awesome. And if you're looking to get into gimbals, this one's definitely a good first step. Some of the others that I've tried in the past for smartphone gimbals, they're just terrible, but this isn't one of them. Like most things DJI, the customer service is great, and it's not some new thing for them. So it's just an iteration on things that they've done for years, and they do a very good job of it. So I hope that helps you guys with some of the more technical questions that you wanted me to answer. If you have any more questions, just let me know in the comments and I can make another video showing off the answers to you guys. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you found it informative, and I hope to see you out there. Bye. I also got another Babar shirt. I may have a problem, but I love Babar. It's fantastic. If anybody ever wants to send me Babar stuff, let me know. I'll give you a P.O. box or something because I love this little elephant. Also, here's today's shoot setup. We used the Rode Wireless Go 2 for the audio. I shot it on the iPhone 13 Pro that I'm using now with the DJI gimbal a lot of times, or the RSC2. And then I have the Aperture Amaran light for my lighting. And if you guys ever need a wallet, my friend Bilani over at Chester Mox makes amazing handmade leather goods. This thing's over 10 years old, and it looks absolutely fantastic still. The patina on it's amazing, and obviously all the stitching and everything is held up well. So check them out if you get a chance. All right, see ya.